Causes of the Great War are militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. These causes are represented by a word. This word is main. Militarism is a philosophy that places great importance on military power. In this period, the government was strongly influenced, if not dominated, by military leaders. Militarism led to the Anglo-German arms race, which gave rise to new military technologies and increased defense spending. The UK had the first fully automated weaponry, and this was a huge advancement. UK was the best in manufacturing power, but in 1913 Germany has surpassed the UK in manufacturing and production, and this creates insecurity between these countries. France and Germany started to have tensions between them, and this led to a war in which Germany ended up taking some of France's territory. The alliance system was created by an architect named Otto von Bismarck, with the objective of preventing war because he thought that if there were alliances when one country wanted to intervene in another, by the simple fact of knowing that that country had backup, the country wouldn't intervene anymore. This means it made the country think twice before intervening with another state. There were two alliances, Triple Entente, which was conformed by Britain, France, and Russia, and Central Powers, which included Germany, Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire, and Italy, although Italy later on changed alliance. The objective failed because the alliances fought between them, creating a massive war. Imperialism was the competition between the European nations that wanted to spread their goods around the world. They wanted new markets, but mainly they wanted to increase their country's influence beyond their own borders. But this created tensions. Nationalism consisted in self-determination on the basis of ethnicity. This means that we can determine for ourselves our own government, like who our authority should be, which rules should we apply. To base in our ethnicity, people wanted to be divided by their ethnicity and to determine themselves what they wanted.
Characteristics of the World War I. The fight between the Triple Alliances or Central Powers that were the Ottoman Empire, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy that was involved too. Against the Triple Entente, France, Russia, and Britain, it was one of the bloodiest wars ever. There were about 37 million casualties and over 16.5 million deaths. It was truly the first modern and industrial war. Technology was one of the most relevant factors of this war. There were attacks under the sea, by air and land. Women were easily employed in large numbers in factories. There were several global connections. The US got involved as well in 1917, and their President Woodrow Wilson had tried many attempts to end war without a victory. In 1918, the German Army Command recognized that they were reaching the limits of their endurance and asked the Emperor to sue for peace. World War I ended officially in 1919 with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. Three decisions that were made at the Treaty of Versailles were that it forced Germany to concede territories to Belgium, Czechoslovakia, and Poland. In Article 231 of the treaty, it forced the German nation to accept complete responsibility for initiating World War I. The German army was to be limited to 1,000 men and conscription prescribed. The treaty restricted the navy to vessels under 10,000 tons, with a ban on the acquisitions or maintenance of a submarine fleet. The consequences of the Treaty of Versailles were that nearly every nation was affected by it, directly or indirectly. Not only Germany suffered territory losses, but Austria-Hungary as well. The reparations or payments would be paid monthly of a total of 6,600 million euros, according to the agreement of the Allies, so Germany had to figure out how to reconstruct their own economy in paying for the reparations. Also, areas of raw materials were given to other countries, but these raw materials were the income of some territories.
The Great Depression. The brief period of prosperity in the United States, known as the Roaring Twenties, boosted a uniquely modern culture that celebrated the fast pace of cosmopolitan life after the Great War, but ended in an economic collapse that came to be known as the Great Depression. It was a period of low economic activity, the trade was slowing, industrial production was declining, and unemployment was rising. Two factors played an important role in the start of the Great Depression. First was a series of crumbles in the economies of individual nations in the second half of the 1920s. Like the prices for farm products fell rapidly due to overproduction. Also, an international financial crisis involved the stock market of the U.S. Because of the U.S., much of the European prosperity was built between 1924 and 1929. Bank loans to Germany for the repairing of the costs for the war. By 1928, American investors pulled money out of Germany to invest it in stocks. Then, in October 1929, the U.S. stock market crashed known as Black Tuesday. In panic, U.S. investors took out more funds for Germany and other European markets, damaging them also. The Great Depression is considered as a cause of the World War II that began in 1939.
After World War I, Italy lived in an economic crisis thanks to the debt and the increase in prices that produced a social tension that made people to get worried about a communist revolution, and the old governments were not able to handle it, so they supported Mussolini's party that was totally against communist people, that even he won the elections in 1919, he took the power. Mussolini is in a violent way changed ideology of nationalism, of socialism, in order to increase the political and military power that Italy has lost during the war, and even in 1921 he lost. Victor Emmanuel II gave the power to Mussolini.
Totalitarianism is when the government has complete and absolute power over the people. This is a repressive, unfree type of society. A form of government in which the state has total control of the citizens.
In Italy, the years in which the totalitarian regime took place was in 1922 to 1945, governed by Benito Mussolini.
Benito Mussolini, born in 1883 in Italy, was an ardent socialist as a youth, following his father's political footsteps, but was expelled by the party for his support of World War I. In 1919, he created the Fascist Party, eventually making himself dictator and holding all the power in Italy. He overextended his forces during World War II and was eventually killed by his own people on April 28, 1945 in Italy.